Hello, this is Liz Lawless, your host for Wild West Diversity, where we tell the rarely and untold stories of multicultural contributions to the settling of the American Wild West. Each Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, we'll be sharing a historical legend and a living legend. Someone from history and someone living that Western lifestyle today, keeping it alive for the future generation. We hope you'll join us on Thursday. If not, we'll see you on the trail. Hello, this is Liz Lawless, your host for Wild West Diversity, and today this is episode 30, and I just can't tell you how delighted and excited we are today about the guest we have. We're going to be talking with horse whisperer. You may know him as an actor and a producer, but he's been engaged in this Western lifestyle. Obba Babatunde. I gotta get that right. Obba Babatunde is here with us today, and so we're just so excited that we're going to be talking all about horses. We're going to talk about Western lifestyle, and we're going to find out how he got involved in this exciting thing called equestrian and Western lifestyle. How are you today, Obba?
I'm fantastic, Liz. Thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm thrilled to be here and to be with your audience.
That's great. Well, we're so glad to have you. And so we usually kind of start with, how did you get involved with horses or in this Western thing to begin with? Did you always love horses as a kid, or is that something you kind of came to later in life?
Well, it's a great question. My dad was an old-fashioned cowboy.
Oh,
And
okay.
when I was really young, I was around these guys that what they would do, but they did it a little different than I do it now. And most of us do it now. My dad, this is an interesting story. There was a big arena and it was a pole in the center of this arena, like stuck in the ground, like a stake.
Uh-huh.
And they wouldn't catch these horses till these horses was maybe like 3-4 years old.
Right.
And, to catch that horse, you had to throw this, what they call a hula hand loop. Because you don't rope a horse the same way you rope a calf. So my dad had an old breaking saddle. Now, a lot of people say, well, what was that like, Obba? Well, it was basically a piece of leather that went and you would flip it over the horse and had like a cinch with a hook on the other side. And when it would go on and that horse take a breath, it would lock that leather on there. My daddy would jump on that horse. He had nothing on it but a halter and a lead rope. And, they would just hang on and one of them would win.
Right. They just hang on as long as they could. There you go.
And so it was interesting because my mother, the inside of his legs would be all torn up from breaking these horses.
Yeah.
And she would put bacon grease on the inside of his thighs. That's what helped would heal those wounds up. So that might be a trick if some of you guys get torn up, somebody you get you some bacon grease, pour it off there and put it in an old-fashioned can. And you just make a salve out of it and put it on your legs and help heals up. We even do that on horses from time to time. It's what they call, like now we use Corona, but anything that's that kind of saturation is what it was that my dad. So I was around it, and he did teach me a lot about how to work with animals, horses on the ground. Right. And so we was always just. My mom and my dad, they would ride all the time. And I was just a kid, kids different then, you just play around and you're around it, but you start picking up things.
Right.
Now, later on, we moved into the city. And so we weren't around the horses as much, but they would go riding every weekend.
Oh,
and And so what happened is that I guess it was in my blood, you know what I mean? And so when I went on to do my career in film and television, and when I came and I moved out to Hollywood, California, I wanted to do something or have something in my life that didn't have to do with the industry.
Right.
And so that led me back to what my first love in the early childhood days was horses. And I had a pretty good knowledge and understanding of what they were and how they were. And I have, I guess, what some would call a special knack and connection with the animal. I'm a Sagittarian, so I guess maybe, our symbol is half horse and half man. So I guess I was born into it. You know what I mean, Liz?
That's right. I love it.
You
Well,
know,
I'm an Aries, and that's a Ram, and I'm pretty stubborn, and I'm kind of, I'm kind of always there. I'm always climbing the mountain. I'm always trying to make it
trying to
happen.
climb that mountain. So
It's amazing how close it is to us, isn't it?
yes, indeed. So,
Yeah.
I got back into dealing with it, and then I said, well, I was pretty good I was pretty good hand at handling them, but I wanted to
Uh-huh.
learn more about them. So I went to Pierce College and I studied
Oh,
took a husbandry course,
husbandry
learning about
course.
the
Yeah.
anatomy of the
Right.
creature. You
Right.
know what I mean? And
Yeah.
to understand the way that animal thinks, the way that animal functions
Right.
physically, emotionally, and mentally.
Yeah.
And that then led me into dealing more with it from that standpoint.
Right.
Now,
Well, and they're like people, aren't they? I mean, they all have personality. They have their own personalities. They have their own quirks. They have their own.
well,
One day they want to work, and the next day they don't.
I
And you
mean,
gotta, like you say, you gotta know how to work with them.
yes, and a lot of times people don't understand. They've been asking the horse to do something that the horse physically is not capable of doing,
Right.
just because based on the anatomy.
Yeah.
Also, the language. You know what I mean? You
Yeah.
know, I could have a conversation with you today, but if I'm speaking a language that you don't understand, you can understand my passion, but you don't get the
Right.
details of what it is I'm trying to say. So,
Yeah.
in the same way with learning how to communicate with the creature in a way. And so then
Yeah.
I began to get into developing, bits and things of that nature and
Right.
learning about, the horse from its hoof all the way to the tip of its ear. And
Right.
so, with that natural knack as well as the knowledge, I began to really begin to communicate with them. And I started working with them and got pretty good at it. And people started bringing me their horses.
Right. People
They
started bringing
said,
you the horses. Did
yeah, they
they
said,
bring you the problem horses, or did they
oh
just bring you?
yes, always the ones that they say. But I told them, I said, show me a horse that's got a problem, and I'll show you a human that created
A
it.
human that
You know what I
created
mean?
that problem.
And
You're
so,
absolutely
you
right.
know,
I
I would
absolutely agree.
replace one habit that was not a good habit with a better habit, and it means by which people don't understand the difference between. Often they don't understand the difference between the animal is a prey animal. It's not a
Right.
predator. Okay.
Right.
So you train a dog one way and you train a horse a different way. It
Yeah.
means of communication. Why? Because, you know, predators, the reward is food. Okay.
Right.
So I have a lot of buddies come out. Oh man, I love horses. I come out to the barn. I want to,
Excuse me.
yeah, sure. Oh, I want to get with your horses. And they say, well, can I bring him a carrot? And I said, well, yeah, he likes the carrot. Well, so you get the carrot, and next thing you know, they said, well, the horse is following them. They said, well, it likes me. I said, no, 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 it likes the carrot. It'll take it from you in a bucket on the ground. It doesn't attach any particular association with an emotional connection to you. It knew it liked the carrot before you gave it to the carrot. I said, but what I've been able to identify with a horse is that the only way that I've been able to identify that you earn, and I underscore the word earn, that horse's trust
Right.
is through investment of time and consistency of behavior. And
Right.
that's something that I think we could learn as humans as well. That
For sure.
somebody says, "Oh man, that guy's you're the greatest person, you're the greatest woman, you're the greatest man, you're the greatest this, you're the greatest roper, you're the greatest actor," and then you walk away and they say, "Ah, that person ain't nothing." You know what I mean? Investment of time and consistency of behavior is what I've identified is the best way to communicate with that creature that you will live
Right.
throughout the many years. But once you earn that horse's trust, it's
They'll
like
do
nothing
anything
else
for
in the
you.
world.
Yeah.
It's nothing like it.
Well, isn't that the truth? And then, like you say, that's a thing of beauty too. When a man and a horse, or a woman and a horse, when you see that connection, yeah,
Yes,
it's really
that's the
great.
key word right there. A
Yeah.
connection. You know,
Okay, well,
it's
share a little bit. Tell us a little bit. I know you did some rodeoing a few years ago, and so kind of how did you get into that? Was it just is
well,
that kind of another challenge or
well,
something?
no, I'm a member of the Bill Pickett Rodeo, which is
Right.
the
Okay.
you know,
Association. Okay.
yeah, Bill Pickett Invitational Rodeo. So,
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time. I'm one of the grand marshals. I'm honored to say, and
Yeah.
I think you're aware that I was just inducted into the Multicultural Cowboy Hall of Fame.
Museum and Hall of
You
Fame.
know,
Yeah, and of course helped start that with Jim with Cowboys of Color.
Yes,
Originally, it was Cowboys of Color, and we did the rodeo as a fundraiser for the Culture Center.
right.
And then they added a big, then they changed the name because they really wanted to be a bigger organization and went to the National West, the Western Museum and Hall of Fame. But yeah, so Jim and Gloria Austin, great friends,
Yeah,
self-taught
great
birds,
people.
and
So I was very honored, and I've
yeah,
been thrilled to be a
excellent.
part of the Bill Pickett Rodeo for almost 30 years.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And in those early days, I mean, Lou called Cleo and said, "Hey, I went to this rodeo. It was the most amazing thing. How do I get involved? How do I get stock? what do I do? And because, Cleo hadn't really planned to be a rodeo producer either. He just wanted to be a cowboy. But
Right.
they said to him, if it changed one kid's life, would you do it? And he said, "Oh
Yes.
man, And then he went back and said, "Hey guys, we got to put on a rodeo because
Yes. Yes. Yes.
it's like
Yes.
you
Yes.
say, kids and horses, they just go together. So
Yes,
uh,
indeed. Yes,
that'll be
indeed.
great. Okay, well,
It's
great. And
it's a
then
it's a
so
beautiful.
when you're trainer, you're still training horses now. So people
Oh
bring
yes,
their horses
yes,
to you.
yes, indeed. I mean,
If you have time, you got to feed that around your acting and your
yes, but you know
maybe.
what? It keeps me grounded. Because horses don't lie.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they don't
Yeah.
have an ego, which is what in
Yeah.
my industry, there's a lot of egos and sometimes a lot of lying.
Well, we hate to say it, but it's true. Like you say,
You know.
not
So
everybody
yes,
has that Western lifestyle, that Western, your word is your bond and your handshake is it. And like you say, you do what you say you're going to do.
yes,
And that
yes,
was the thing. I mean, this show is, as you know, is all about telling those rarely and untold stories of multicultural contributions. And we know that African Americans were involved in the settling of the American
yes,
West. We know that Hispanics and Native Americans and women and Europeans, of course, of all kind, cultures came and
yes.
participated. And we know that because we have it in our food, we have it in our music, we have it in,
That's right.
we all eat Spanish food or Mexican food, we all eat
Yes,
Italian food, we all like good music, we all like, they're just all of those things that make each culture great that we've got to protect and we've got to tell people about. We got to share that history. And we know this Western history, there's this whole culture of
yes,
black cowboys and like you say, your folks that grew up riding and they rode for pleasure and they rode on the weekends and the family was involved and if you're not a part of the rodeo and you haven't been around rodeo, you really don't know. People are just astonished when we say we have 300 or 400 black cowboys and multicultural cowboys, Hispanic cowboys come to our rodeos, and they're like, "What?
yeah, yes.
There aren't any black cowboys." Well, yeah, there are. You just going to the wrong place. You got to show up.
Yes,
You got to show up
indeed.
somewhere different. But who's this? So is this Dakota? Or is that one of the
That
other
that
horses?
is Dakota. Yes, indeed. That's my boy. Yes,
All
he's a
right, that's
he's something
beautiful. So
else, man. I'm gonna tell
that's
you
called
something.
a paint horse, right? Is that
Yes, that's right. That's a paint. And Dakota is just one of those horses that is almost too smart to be a horse. But I'm telling you, he has served me for many years well.
yeah?
I'm just proud of him, and I work him all the time, and I've trained a bunch of horses with him. You know, um,
Uh-huh.
I also had a mare, which I think I saw you with one of those pictures. You'll see me with reins in my teeth, riding this.
Right.
That was my rodeo mare, and I'm telling you,
Okay.
her name is Tess, and
Uh-huh.
Tess is retired now, but she's still doing her thing, man. She's turned out. I got her in pasture with some other couple of other mares, and
Right.
was just one of those amazing horses. I raised her from a baby,
From a
and
baby. Yeah. Yeah.
when I started rodeoing on her, it was anything I could. There was any event that I chose to do. I could rope on her, I head on her, I could
Right.
do team pinning on her. I mean, it didn't matter what it was. Tess and me, boy, we were one. And so when I
Yeah.
retired her, I started bringing Dakota along. I had him from a young horse, and he's a great, great, great companion.
Right. Great. Great. Well, and that's it. And so do you have a favorite breed, or do you just love horses and all in general?
You know what? It's a good question. I used to of course, being in the Western lifestyle, quarter horse was my favorite
Right.
horse. But
Right.
in over the years, I've trained and I've brought along all different breeds, and so
Right.
I've learned the difference in each breed and their mindset, and how I go about dealing with each one differently. But like you
Yeah.
said earlier on, they each have their own individual personality,
Right.
and there's something that you get to know about that creature. And
Yeah.
if you open yourself up to it, it opens itself up to you. So, you know, I try to tell people in this more specific way to answer your question, relative to the discipline that you want to use that horse is
For
the breed that you want to be
right.
associating with that
Yeah.
horse. You know what I
That's right.
mean?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I've trained. My friend brought me one time a big old draft horse. Now that horse, you could jump that horse, but you don't
Right.
use that horse for jumping because it's too heavy and it's going to create problems with shoulders or something. So it's
Right.
not like people don't realize bulls can jump really high.
Right.
You
That's
know what I
right.
mean?
Yeah.
So,
And horses, like you say, horses and bulls. That's right.
you know,
Well, and they're trained too. The other thing, there are some that they just like. There's some that are just frisky.
yes.
There's some that just like to buck. There's some that just like to jump and run and do.
And
And like you say,
that bloodline tells a
yeah,
lot about the
you're not
potential of
making
that
them
horse.
do something they don't want to do. It's something
No,
they do just naturally because, like
and
you say,
enjoy doing.
they don't have ration and reason like we do. They don't
You
think
know
like
what?
people do.
I had an Azteca, and I'm
Uh-huh.
telling you, this horse, and for those that may or may not know what Azteca is, it's a cross between an Andalusian and a quarter horse.
Right.
And so I had this horse, and this horse, his name was Osh, and Osh, which is a funny story. I'll tell you about to finish telling you this.
Okay.
Osh was amazing with me
Uh-huh.
training horses, but Osh, I could not take him to a rodeo.
Right.
That horse, I'm telling you, you show him a cow, and
Yeah.
that horse would wait. Wow, 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 he starts sweating, and it didn't matter. You know what I mean?
Right.
He just didn't. He didn't like that. But
Yeah.
if I had to use him, I even use him like sometimes like in rodeoing, just the pony horses in and out,
Right.
and get him. He would set that horse up where it was supposed to be. Perfect. Never. He didn't get. He was almost like a mindset, like a pickup horse.
Right.
But
Right.
when it
Of
came
course.
to cows, forget about it. No. So,
I just
so
said
I
something
couldn't
about it.
use him for that.
Yeah. Well, a couple weeks ago we had Doug Smiley on, and he's our Tennessee walking horse
Yeah.
guy trainer, and he's a trainer for Tennessee walking horses. And he was so funny. He said, "Well, why drive a Chevy when you can drive a Cadillac?" And I
Like
was like,
I
"Listen,
got
don't
I
be
got
talking
I
about
got
my
a
quarter
walker.
horses."
I got a walker that's in training with me right now.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
they're beautiful
Yes. His
horses,
name is
smooth gait.
Patchy.
Gotcha. Okay, I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they are, and so they're different. And so if you're listening and you're watching today and you've always wanted to talk with that horse, you don't just go out and buy a horse. You got to think about what you want to do with that horse. Or if you're riding for pleasure, that's one thing. If you want a horse that's a rodeo horse, that's something different. It's got to be trained. If you're
Right.
riding barrels, that's different from calf roping,
That's right.
or steer wrestling, like you say. And people, it's a whole industry, and it's a whole there's a whole life lesson there that you need to learn, and so that's what happens. People buy horses, they think they're going to ride them. They don't realize that they need to be trained, and they always eat, and they always have a vet bill, but they don't always, like you say, it's like thoroughbred. My brother had thoroughbred horses, well, they didn't always run and win, but they always ate and always need the vet bill, but
Yes. Yes. Come on, talk about
they
it.
win the race, on Saturday, and they get a virus and die on Sunday. We had that happen to us the very first couple of years he was in the business, and
Well,
so
I'm
it's just
telling you, boy.
crazy.
And I think you'd agree, it's also a commitment.
Uh-huh.
It's a serious commitment. People always say to me, "So, how much is a horse?" And I said, "Wait. Do you realize the commitment? That, as you said, the vet bills, the
Right.
farrier bills,
Yeah.
the training. They just think a horse is a horse is a horse.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
It's a commitment,
Right.
and
And time. You got to spend time.
it is so delicate. And to be a big, strong creature, it's got one of the
Yeah.
most delicate digestive systems of any living
Digestive.
creature.
You're right.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's it, and so, so we want to tell you, if you want to do, horses, that's great, but go first and trail ride or go out to a place, and be around the animals, or if you've got a friend that's got horses, go and be around because it is a time commitment and it's discipline. And especially if you're involved in something like rodeo,
Oh
you
yeah.
met the great grandson earlier, but Cleo's grandson, Taylor Hearn, he pitches for the Texas Rangers now, the baseball team.
Yes.
But the reason he's there in his early 20s is because his discipline of being a calf roper. He started calf roping when he was a little boy. And
There
he
you
took
go.
care of the horse every day, and he had to saddle it up, and he had to brush it, and he had to ride it, and just that discipline has transferred over into his baseball career, and and when he got into high school, he started playing baseball, and he still ropes occasionally. He still comes out to the rodeos with us and stuff,
Yes.
but there's just something about, like you say, that commitment of time and energy, and then just love of being outdoors and being around animals. And, it's just it's a totally different lifestyle, and it's a totally different experience. And, we wish that kids today could do that, got more access to it, because kids
Yes.
in the
Yes. Yes.
city, they just don't know. So that's another reason we do this program. We're hoping some of these programs get picked up. We go out and talk to schools. I know you probably do too. If you ever have a spare minute, I know you talk to young people and
Oh
encourage
yes.
them to follow their dreams. And so it
Yes.
looks
Yes.
like
Yes.
we got Kavina Franklin, who maybe met you over in Atlanta in the past.
Oh yes.
So glad
All
that
right.
we're having you on the show today here. So, but we can, there at the bottom of the screen, you can see that you can follow Oba. You can follow him on Twitter. You can follow him on Instagram. There are, he'd be glad for you to do that. We'll put that up on the screen, and then that'll be in the show notes. But well, tell us a little bit, kind of what you got any plans for the future? Are you just going to continue maybe training or?
Well, in terms of, you know what, I live every single day
Uh-huh.
with the joy of that day. You know,
Yeah.
I'm still involved very actively in my career. This year will make a half a century
Wow.
professionally involved
Beautiful.
in the entertainment career. You
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
so I'm presently still on the show, our sixth season. I'm happy to say on CBS SWAT,
Yeah,
uh,
that's right. That's
where I
right.
play the father. We call me
Uh-huh.
Pops. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Daryl Harrelson Sr. So
Uh-huh.
I'm still very active in film and television. Um, the career is long reaching. I've got a fan base between 8 and 80. Thank you.
That's right. That's great.
you
That's
know,
great.
and
Yeah.
uh, and so this is a nice balance. You know what I mean? And I think that everybody in your life, as a respectful suggestion, that you can find the balance in your life. You know, find what brings you joy. I often say your do is not necessarily your who. And what I mean by that is what you do is what affects change in your life, but your who is how you affect change in someone else's. And they say if you've been able to affect change in one person's life in your walk, your living has not been in vain. My mother used to say, there's two things you cannot do with a closed hand and a closed heart. You cannot give, nor can
Right.
you receive. So open your heart and watch what
Right.
happens. And that's exactly what my life continues to be. You know, I've been fortunate enough through my career and through the rodeos to meet a lot of wonderful and magical people. To be on your show, Liz,
Right.
and today is a result of the energy that's been put out. It's a repository. It comes back to you. It comes back to you.
Yeah.
You know, I was working
I
on trying to
agree.
get together with this, and your producer Russ was kind enough. He was kind enough to pick up the phone and call me and said, "Oh, well, we're going to do this. We're going to get you on here." And so I thank him. I thank you. I thank Tracy, my publicist, who made us come together. And you guys are high school friends. You see, so what you put out is what will come back. There's no doubt about it. No matter what it is that you try, give it your best and watch what happens.
this whole Western lifestyle is just a great thing. The history is there for people, and we have these shows on. We usually talk a little bit about a historical character. Because there were all these people, like you say, like your dad, and there's probably your grandfather, your grandparents, they were
Yes.
probably engaged in horse activity, and people around the campfire or the kitchen table, they kind of know the stories. They're in the community, but people
Yes.
outside didn't ever hear those stories.
Right. Well,
So what's one of your
we're here to
favorite
tell those stories.
memories? What's one of your favorite memories of growing up or being around the horses, or your dad or your grandparents? Or
Well, you know what? I love the fact that you mentioned around the kitchen table. You know what I mean? And after all that rough riding and all of that kind of, how do we make this work? We would come together and you sit down at a very simple meal
right,
and you get a chance to connect heart to heart,
with
soul to
people?
soul, spirit
Yeah,
to spirit,
yeah,
and that's
yeah,
what I remember the best about my growing up. And I continue to live like that every single day to the best of my ability. You know,
right.
you know, uh, I'm looking at the comments that some of you, the viewers are writing in, and it warms my heart. It makes me feel good because I feel that I have a connection with them. Even though
Right,
we're in a Zoom in world, we're still connecting.
right.
So that's the joy of life, you know. Uh,
Yeah, and we're living in the greatest time in the world with this technology. I mean, those of us that are a little bit older, sometimes it's a little bit of a struggle for us, and it took me a while. I kept going, oh, I don't want to be on camera. I don't want to be on camera, but let me do a podcast. Let me be on audio. But these stories are too important. We've got to share our stories. We've got to share our stories across cultural, because when it's all said and done, we got more in common than we have differences.
Absolutely, well stated. And,
We
and
just
and I
we
thank you for the platform that gives
Yeah,
us
we
the
want a
ability
safe place
to
for
share these
ourselves and
stories.
our children and our grandchildren. We want to leave a legacy. We want to do work that we enjoy. We want to be engaged in activities, like you say, that are positive and upbeat and that help people. And so we really appreciate that you're here today. We appreciate your wisdom. We appreciate your 50 years of legacy, because we know that you've opened doors for people in the entertainment world, not only and in the Western world. And I'm sure, and as you can see the comments here, they're coming in. And hopefully, like you say, this show is it's on live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Once the live is over in 24 hours, it'll get archived to our YouTube channel, so people can always go back. We ask you to go and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We ask you to go and follow Obba on Instagram or on Twitter. It's just at his name, Obba Babatunde. So I'm going to spell that for you, because if you're listening on the podcast, you're not seeing the comments. If you're watching, you're going to be able to see his name, but it's Obba Babatunde. So follow Oba on Twitter, follow him on Instagram. You'll be able to keep track of him, and then we'll have this wonderful show that'll be archived, and you'll be able to listen and hear about how he grew up with horses and how his dad influenced him. And I understand, what, you've got a brother? Any sisters, or just the brothers?
Yeah, I have a brother. His name is Akin, and
Okay.
he and I. He is also a magnificent director,
Okay.
and
Great. Yeah.
he's right there in Dallas. Akin Babatunde.
Okay. Oh, of course. Are you kidding me? Oh, of
Yes.
course. I mean, I'm like, it's just a connection. It just hit me. Well, I saw his name. I mean, I saw something he was directing the other day, and I thought, well, I wonder if and I had the thought, I wonder if they're
Yes.
related. Well, I'll be, of course. And yeah,
Isn't that
fabulous. He
something?
used to do a lot of stuff with us at the museum and other
Yes.
places years ago. Yeah, so of
Yes.
course.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
A
how
brilliant
exciting.
director, that's my little brother. Yes, indeed.
Well, that's wonderful. So I'll be really excited the next time I see him, because sometimes they're doing something locally that came across my desk, and I thought, I gotta go see that, because I know that's gonna
Yes.
be out.
Well,
I guess he's working with
when we
Alan
get off,
Glover.
when we get off, I'm gonna call him up and I'm
Okay.
gonna tell him I'm gonna say, Liz said to say you hey.
Right, that's right. And so I think he's working with Alan Glover. Glover, who's a
Yes,
great video, a wonderful video production film, producer documentary. Alan
yes,
does documentary arts films and,
yes. Alan and
fabulous
he have
films
been
on
he and
music and
Alan have been
history.
partners for years. The show that you're talking about is my brother wrote it with Alan,
Wrote it,
and
yeah.
he played. It's on about Blind Lemon,
Right,
and
yeah, exactly.
he originated that character.
Oh,
You know,
wow, okay.
so
Well, how
yeah,
fabulous.
he and Alan, and we've all been friends for many, many years.
Right, right, for sure. And I guess I met Alan when we did Freedman Cemetery. We
Okay,
did the whole
okay,
exhibition around the cemetery, the Black Cemetery here in Dallas, and so that was
yes,
fabulous. Well,
small world.
it's just, I'm just like crazy. I'm a crazy person. I should have made that connection early on. But that's great. Well, I will. When I go see the show, I'm going to say I was so excited because I got to meet your brother online.
Absolutely.
I've been
All right,
watching
my
and been
darling.
a
I'm so
fan,
thrilled.
like you say, of all these years of the movies and the television and stuff. And my brother is the binge watcher, but we see all the shows and then we watch more than once. We always like to go back and watch 2 or 3 times. Now we can do
Yes.
that. You didn't used
Well,
to could do that.
I'm thrilled that we can do that, and now we can watch this interview 3 or 4 times.
That's
And
right.
I want to thank and give a shout out to all of the people that are tuning into the show, and to
Yeah,
thank
for
you for
sure.
supporting Liz and Russ and this platform, Wild West Diversity. It's very, very important. Thank you so much for tuning in. Continue, and thank you from me personally for the years of support that you've given to me throughout my career.
All right. Well, that's great. Well, thanks so much for being with us. I mean, we could talk all day, but we're almost out of time here, and so we appreciate you being on the show. This is Liz Lawless with Wild West Diversity, your host, and episode 30. We've had such a great time today with Obba, and we pray that you'll come back and rewatch this show on the recording, or if you have a podcast platform that's your favorite, go back and listen to the show. Give us some thumbs up, subscribe, like, love, and show us all some love here today. So thank you so much for being here. It's been a great pleasure and one of the highlights of my life so far here on the show. So we
Thank you
appreciate
so
you.
much, Liz.
And
Thank
maybe
you
we'll
so
have
much.
you come back later on if we get into doing any of these. Were you going to put on some Westerns for us? Or are you going to direct or produce a Western one of these days?
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
All right. That sounds great. Well, we'll have you back then and we'll talk about that.
Okay, darling. Thank you so much. And
All
thanks
right.
to everybody
Thank
again
you.
for tuning in.
Have a great day. We'll see
You
you.
too.
Hello, this is Liz Lawless, your host for Wild West Diversity, where we tell the rarely and untold stories of multicultural contributions to the settling of the American Wild West. Each Thursday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, we'll be sharing a historical legend and a living legend. Someone from history and someone living that Western lifestyle today, keeping it alive for the future generation. We hope you'll join us on Thursday. If not, we'll see you on the trail.